We have a bill most likely going to pass this week in the House called the so-called Equality Act. And the Western Journal's own Randy DeSoto did a great piece on that. I think it came out this morning. You can go to westernjournal.com. It's called Legal Expert Offers Sobering Warning About Equality Act's Impact on People of Faith. That's quite a title. So if you just go to westernjournal.com, search legal expert, it'll be the top result. I checked. So easy to find, great read, goes into a number of the possible permutations of how this bill can turn out and what it will do. Essentially what it will do, as written, it would amend the 1964 Civil Rights Act to prohibit discrimination on the basis of gender identity and or sexual orientation. Now, we're not going to be in favor of this act, but one man who is the man currently residing in the White House, Joe Biden, clearly in support of the so-called Equality Act. We have a tweet from him, I believe. The Equality Act provides long overdue federal civil rights protections for LGBTQ plus, there we go again, Americans. Nobody's happy with just the standard LGBTQ Americans. They'll have to be plus now. Preventing discrimination in our housing, education, public services, and lending systems. I urge Congress to swiftly pass this historic legislation. Now, if we were talking about those things, housing, education, lending systems, I might actually be able to get behind this, for the most part anyway. But that is a disingenuous tweet from the president or whoever manages his Twitter account, since it's probably not him, because the bill actually does much more than that. The legislation would make it illegal to do something that the Supreme Court in 2018 specifically ruled was constitutional. So you guys will remember over the past several years, there have been a number of cases about florists, bakers, et cetera, not wanting, photographer, I remember one, not wanting to serve same-sex couples who are getting married, claiming it was a violation of their religious beliefs. I'm not going to do a wedding cake for this gay wedding because I believe God created marriage to be between man and a woman. And so the Supreme Court in 2018 sided with one of those folks, in this case a baker, and said, no, you have the constitutional right to refuse service. Mm-hmm. The left the following year came up with this wonderful bill in 2019, which passed the House, went nowhere in the Senate. It's expected once again to pass the House this week under new Congress, obviously. And we'll see where it goes from there. Experts, legal experts from actually all sort of across the map are warning what a disaster this bill is. Denise Harrell from the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is a great organization, said the Equality Act treats people of faith as second-class citizens, which is exactly what it does. It establishes one person's rights, their right to identify as whatever gender they want to, which I would argue they could do. I think it's stupid, but they could do it. Their right to profess a particular sexual orientation. Those rights are enshrined as more important than the religious rights of people who would not want to support those activities. I don't care if you want to identify as a man or a woman or a Martian or the frog in my throat. It does not matter to me. There is this principle of live and let live that has been foundational to this country for hundreds of years that the left just is tearing apart. Douglas Laycock, a law professor at the University of Virginia, said this: we ought to protect the liberty of both sides to live their own lives by their own identities and their own values, which is all the right wants. The left loves to paint the right as trying to cram religion down their throat. And, you got to be a Bible thumper like me, and it's the right doesn't want. Are there people who want that? Of course there are. There are wrong people on every side of every argument, but that's not what a conservative wants. That's not what the right wants. The right wants to be left alone and wants you to have the right, wherever you stand, to be left alone. This Equality Act it does just the opposite. You cannot be left alone. You will be forced to provide services to any occasion under any situation that they decide they want to ask you for services for. What drives this legislative behavior by the left? As I was reading Randy's piece today, I thought, this is really interesting. I understand, LBJ was said to have had some sort of, what shall we say, dishonorable or questionable, at least, intentions regarding the passage of the Civil Rights Act, right? He saw this as a way to lock down the black vote in perpetuity. And I can, whether or not that's a good thing to do, I can understand that it's a practical thing to do. I could see how that could be a smart political move to do that. And there are, millions and millions and millions of black voters in the United States. So if you could find a way to lock them down for your party, okay, I understand why that would be attractive. But we're not talking about a huge percentage of the voting population here, are we?
Excuse me. It's funny you say that, George. I was thinking about that actually while you were talking. Yeah, it's not. So I really think that an enormous number of people on the left, and some people on the right too, have essentially just become ideologically possessed. They're not really seeing with their own eyes right now. They've got an idea that's filtering everything and is kind of making decisions for them. It's sort of somebody pulling the strings.
Dude,
up
you
here.
have got to watch The Social Dilemma.
I got it last night, so I will take a look.
I've been telling you
I will
for a
take
couple
a
of
look.
days you need to watch it.
Well, that's interesting.
This goes right in with...
This has been my kind of obsession for the last couple weeks. It hit me last week.
You too. You need to watch The Social Dilemma.
In any way, what happens once you're ideologically possessed? Jung said, "Ideas don't possess people. Don't possess ideas. Ideas possess people." And we all have kind of heard that. Oh, that's an interesting thing. No, it's actually super profound. And I think what has happened, Scripture says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So you think about something long enough, it kind of becomes you, or you maybe more alarmingly become it. The left has been fixated and fascinated with what in the past have been called deviant sexual behaviors. They've been obsessed with this for a very, very long time. I am wondering if now that, we just had new polling come out too, showing that only about 0.6% of the U.S. population identifies as transgender.
Right.
0.6%. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket, man. But they're treating this like it's an absolutely massive, massive thing.
Right.
It's wholly unreasonable what has happened. Every single proactive position on the LGBT front is wholly nonsensical, given it's outsized. It's this tsunami of action against an item that's, just like that
so small.
big.
Yeah.
It's very weird. What explains that? And I really think ideological possession is probably what explains it. This has become either a bugbear or a fetish for these folks, depending on how you look at it, for so long that they see it as, and I don't think there's any disingenuity on the part of most of these people. Some of them are grifting, but a lot of them, I think they really think, oh my gosh, there are these people who are being oppressed. When it turns out, it's not, even if they were all oppressed, it's not that many people. And it turns out those people aren't really being oppressed.
Right.
But that's the only thing I can come up with that explains what we're seeing, because I can't come up with a rhetorical or a strategic or even a tactical reason.
It's actually something of a compliment to human nature, isn't it? That people would respond. They hear these stories of oppression, true or not, and their response is, "Oh, that's bad. We have to stop it."
Yeah,
that's actually a positive. That's actually the kind of country that we want. The problem is not the fallen nature of man in this case. It's kind of the opposite. It's the fallen nature of the truth, of the information that these folks are being fed every day, that makes this seem like a huge issue.
And that's the super dangerous thing about the left. They perform that super quick sleight of hand where you don't see it. It turns out they're all of humanity's problems over here that really do need to be solved. But they focus your attention over here on a tiny, tiny, tiny thing while they accumulate power over here.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous sleight of hand.